Why not?
You just seem to make it work all the time.
Yes, this is where the magic
Camera
happens.
keep going?
Yeah.
That's
Pizzazz.
it.
Good.
Magic.
Tonight we got Steve Mantia running camera.
Yeah, he's over
Rock
here.
and roll.
Rock and roll.
What happened last week? What did I say, you guys?
You said something.
You should have just said edit and corrected me. This
We just saw.
is what I love about working with you guys. Everybody works so well together here on the set.
Easiest thing in the
Wonderful,
world.
isn't it? Okay, tonight we've got not Steve Mantia running camera, because Steve Mantia is right here, but Richard Bianca is running camera tonight for us.
Hey, Richard.
It's great to have you sitting next to me.
It's been a while.
It has been a while. It's glad
Yeah.
to be here with you.
I've got big
That's it.
announcements, though.
We got a lot of stuff to talk about. Let's have some fun. And one of you guys are ready.
We're ready.
Richard, give us a countdown and let's do this beautiful April show.
3, 2, 1.
The What's Neat This Week video podcast is supported by enthusiastic model railroaders just like you.
These are anyway.
And by GL Robotics, with over 61 colors of 3D printing filaments in stock. Your gateway to new technology. Check out their website at glroboticsusa.com. Further support is provided by Microengineering, keeping you on track with quality products for 55 years. Check out their website at www.microengineering.com. Order from your local dealer or order direct by calling 1-800-462-6975. Additional support is provided by Yelsma Graphics, America's leading distributor of quality railroad art and embroidered clothing since 1985. Check out their website at yelsma.com. Further support is provided by the NCE Corporation, the power of DCC. Visit their website at ncedcc.com. And thank you for supporting the What's Neat This Week podcast.
This is the What's Neat This Week's show in model railroading, that place where you guys all like to come for that hobby shop banter, which is exactly what we like to provide. Tonight we've got a great show here. This is show number 190 for April 2nd, 2022. I'm your host, Ken Patterson, the host of the What's Neat show at Model Railroad Hobbyist Magazine. And yes, 30 minutes ago, I just got the May video uploaded. And let me tell you, there's some amazing content in that.
Good.
In that we talk about weathering steam locomotives. Now, Mike has talked over the years so many times about weathering freight cars and the roofs and the pull-down rust effects using oil paints. But weathering a steam locomotive is a whole nother animal when it comes to the grease, the dust, the soot, and the dust, i.e. it's the sand dust that is from the second driver back. And on this show, we weather a Bachmann EM1 locomotive. That's a run of locomotives that came out about 2014, as you'll recall. And they are now available still in N-scale, so I thought the video was pertinent. Also in that video, we've got Matt Stern, the communication director from Bachmann Trains in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, and he fills us in on some of the latest new products that you will be able to see at the NMRA National here in St. Louis coming up here in August.
Can't wait.
I know, right? Also, Dan Scheidel, our drone pilot, provides us with some magnificent BNSF consists. So I'm so excited about it. This is why I'm starting out the show talking about it. The Gateway N-track layout that we did an interview on, James Regier ran camera for me, and this is a layout that's got tons of animation. There's a lot of people out there that are prototype modelers, but when you do a modular layout that entertains the public, prototype sometimes gets thrown out the windows simply because you want that entertainment value coming from thunderstorms with lightning or the racetrack in N-scale with the cars running around the track. They explain how they designed it. It's pretty amazing. Or how about Jurassic Park? One of the modeler's
gosh.
sons
Phenomenal.
loves that and created an entire module with the dinosaurs and a helicopter, all animated, all moving, lots of little motors, and probably in there somewhere is an Arduino, but we don't have James Regier here tonight to explain it. So sitting next to me tonight, I've got our favorite, God love you, Mike Buddy.
Hey, thank you. Hi,
Hey,
everybody.
Mike. Also on the all the way on the other end here, Richard, I've got Steve Mantia.
Hello, Ken. How
Steve,
are you?
I saw you on the road 2 days ago. You were by St. Anthony's Hospital. I didn't say a word, but there you
okay.
were.
Well, you should have just started following me again.
I saw him on the road
perfect.
again today.
That's
at the
how it all
parking lot, too,
started.
this morning.
That's it.
When you Steve's truck out there on the
Yep.
back of it with a great big model
Yeah.
train locomotive saying, I buy trains for cash,
You
it's
follow
hard
him.
to not see it.
Call the number.
That's the name of the game.
Yeah.
That's
And
it.
the wonderful voice sitting next to me is our absolute favorite, Daniel.
I'm
Coons.
back after a month. It's great to be back. And I got some big announcements to share with you guys. And
Yeah.
big news for me.
That's absolutely awesome. So, as you guys have found out on the past show, I am in fact totally changing this layout down here, and I hope to have it complete by the NMRA National in August. The week of that show, I'm on the open house on Thursday, the week of the NMRA show. You can look that up by going to gateway2022.org to find out my layout tour schedule, which is on Thursday from 1 p.m. until 6 p.m. I'm going to have a lot of folks down here helping me make sure the Garden Railroad runs and the trains inside run so we can all be social and have some fun. I'm anticipating that in fact, that one might almost be sold out right now. If nothing else, I know the Utah Belt is going to sell out very quickly
Oh,
too.
yeah.
Oh, yes.
Right? Mm-hmm. Today's the week of the Rocky Mountain Train Show. The show, I've got some photographs from various people out there, although I have not received them yet in email, and if I do, I'm going to be showing them on the screen here. But that show was an absolute success. They had a record attendance out there. Everybody was upbeat. The fact is, train shows are back, and I'm so happy that the vendors now
Yeah.
have their ways, to survive and promote the hobby the way they do, and the modelers alike.
Oh,
Get to go
yes.
to shows with the family and the kids, and it's a wonderful thing. And in fact, Steve, you've got a show coming up. Tell us about your show coming up.
Oh, and May 14th, we have a After the Storm train show coming up again. And yes, I agree with you. Any of the shows that we've been at so far this year, the crowds have been out and people have been buying things, buying items from myself and other vendors. And it's just a whole different world it seems to be in here that
Right.
people are in the mood before COVID, after COVID, whatever we want to say. It has really changed the outlook on how some people want to get involved with it, things to do at home.
I do agree with that. The one thing that they're talking about a lot on the news is, and I'm going to allude to this because I've absolutely experienced, our numbers on the show actually went down over the last, I want to say 60 days, as people got more active and started getting out. It seems like, things with regards to COVID are starting to settle down. It seems like it's not as severe as it was over the past 18 or almost 2 years, correct? And people started getting out more and not paying so much attention to the YouTube videos and the layout in the basement and this and that and the other thing. But the fact is, with gas prices going up, I'm now starting to see an uptick. And I've heard this from vendors and hobby shops alike, that people are starting to reside back at home again. They're not wanting to travel as much because of the expense of gas. And you know what? It seems like it's just only going to add to the fact that this hobby is the great way to enjoy your time.
Yes, it
I
is.
agree.
Right. All right, Mike, so you brought some amazing stuff to talk about tonight. We're shooting for 20 minutes if we can have it. Tell us what you brought tonight, Mike.
Well, these are all the cars I brought the night Brad Joseph was here, since he's a Mopar guy, Chrysler, Plymouth, Dodge dealer.
Yep.
I brought all these different Mopar vehicles. Since I usually work with Chevys, I know and throw the Mopar guys a bone. So
There you go.
Never go wrong with a Chevy.
yeah. Anyway, this old pink station wagon, that is an old Eco car, and it's a '59 Plymouth, and I kind of did a lot of work on it, probably more than I should have spent, but I tried to bring it up to appearance standards comparable to my other cars. So then these next four are all from 87 RPM Peter Rings. That one down there is a '62 Plymouth. I did a little bit of a weathering experimentation on that to give it an old weather-beaten appearance, like a friend of mine's car. He had a car just like that. And then the next one is a '67 GTX Plymouth. This one is a '68 Roadrunner, Plymouth Roadrunner. Then this last one is one of my favorite ones, '69 Dodge Charger. I've always liked those since they came out.
That is a beautiful car.
It is. I like
Very
the
nice,
color.
yes.
Very cool.
Yeah, the stripe on the back is 9 separate pieces of white decal strip, applied 9 separate times, and then, set with Solvaset and everything to make that tail stripe there. But
cool.
now these next these next 3 are Yanxian Mad About Cars 3D prints. This one is really old. This is one of the first ones I got. It had the frosted appearance, and I did a lot of work on it to smooth it out, and I never did finish it by putting windows in it, but it turned out pretty decent. But they got a lot better as time went on. These next 2, these 3 are St. Louis County police cars, and these 2 are 3D prints also from Jens that really didn't require a whole lot of work to clean up. And I had these decals made for the St. Louis County Police Department by William Brillinger Precision Design Company, and
Nice.
those are the cars, Daniel, I always used to look for in my rearview mirror.
Gotcha. Yeah. Probably a speedster back in your day, right?
Yeah. But yeah, those Brown County police cars, man, they hold a special place in my heart. So
That's cool.
this is a 69 Dart from John Tyson, one of his offerings. And then these next 2, this is a 70 Barracuda from Schuco. I think it came out, somebody else had it first, and then Schuco took it over, I believe. And this is actually a Hot Wheels car, and they had a line called HO something. They were 187 Hot Wheel cars, and this one was really pretty close to HO scale. So Andy Westhoff was nice enough to give that to me. I'd been looking for one for years when I first heard about it, and
Right.
Andy had one. He gave it to me. So anyway, the last one over here is the old Roco Dodge pickup. It was an Army truck, but I made a telephone utility body to put on the back there. I made a mold for these. I made a whole bunch of these, and so I'm putting a bunch of different cabs on them, Ford and Chevy and Dodge cabs, to make my fleet bigger. So
Pretty cool.
anyway, yeah, that's
now,
about,
next thing you need to do is motorize them.
yeah.
Technology's out there.
Are you interested in doing something like that?
I don't know if I got the technological know-how to put all that stuff together.
You're looking at one right now, and then James McGear's another one too.
Yeah.
Well, we saw Ed Richardson
And
do
Ed
it.
Richardson
And John
as well.
Tyson.
And John
especially.
Tyson
John
did it.
Tyson.
I just
John.
don't know how they compress all that circuitry and wiring and LEDs and everything in there. I don't know. I think it would be kind of tedious, but I don't know. I'm always willing to learn.
I'd be willing to tackle it, no problem.
Yeah. All right, man. You heard it.
Yeah.
Put it on your list.
Yeah.
Okay, jot it down.
Maybe we'll do a remote control telephone truck.
I think that
That
would be
would be
the
pretty
best.
cool.
Yeah.
There's room
Maybe you
in
can
that.
get the cherry
Really
picker to
Yep. Mhm.
raise
Yeah.
up and down.
All
That'd
right.
be pretty cool to
That
see.
would be excellent. Yeah.
On the table tonight, we've got an FP45 locomotive.
Yes,
This
we do.
one just came out from Athearn Trains, from /Athearn/Horizon out there in Illinois. And this is a locomotive, whereas I had an F45, number 5953. I'm showing you a photograph of it right now where I shot it in outdoor photography. And I absolutely loved this locomotive. But sometime in the interim of things, somebody came down here and liked it more than I did and picked it up from me. And I was so disappointed. I hate it when I sell
You mean
something
they
I
still-
don't want to sell. I sold it to somebody I wish I never did.
Oh, okay.
So
Okay.
what I
Well,
did
at
was
least
actually
you were
Like what?
compensated for it. Yeah.
actually pre-ordered this probably a year and a half ago from Lombard's Hobbies out in Lombard, Illinois.
Right.
Thank you, Andrew, for taking care of me and remembering me on this purchase. And it showed up here this week. I didn't get an invoice, but I assume I owe you guys money for it, and I will pay you. But the fact is, this is an FP45, and it's such a beautiful locomotive in that era where Santa Fe was doing the Santa Fe Southern Pacific
Merger.
merger. We called them Kodachromes.
Shouldn't paint so fast. SPSF.
But what a wonderful part of our model railroad heritage and history to
I
have
do.
a locomotive like that.
Right.
I've got some SD50s and I'm going to run with it, and I think it'll be a beautiful consist on this layout. And that's where we go back to the part where I'm pulling up the third rail on this. I'm pretty much getting out of narrow gauge with regards to HON 3 right now, 33. HON
3.
Correct, 36. So my last few Blackstone models are going to go bye-bye. I'm going to pull up the third rail and absolutely change this entire layout back to HO scale, which I know Chris Palomares, you're out there smiling. Oh, God.
Me too, man. That third rail at all.
I kind of like the narrow gauge, but yeah, let's just make it.
Look, I really got into the history of it. When I learned about Otto Mears and everything that he did to form the Rio Grande Southern, I bought every single book I could buy on it. I learned about the history of Colorado mining from the 1870s through the 1890s, and it was a fascinating history. And that's how us modelers work. Once we start understanding the history book, or we start looking at these Morning Sun books and looking at the photographs, all of a sudden you find what you see is what you want to purchase. And that is what creates what it is you want to model in your mind. When we created that Midwest Valley Modelers layout so many years ago, which was a beautiful modular layout that did a lot of different train shows, 35 or 40 train shows, that whole layout was absolutely designed out of the green, out of High Green to Marceline, that Macmillan book that had come out so many years, where it was Chicago to Kansas City, double track main line, Santa Fe in all of its glory. And that was the standards that were used to design that layout. And again, everything in that book I had to have. The Amtrak California Zephyr and the double-deck Overland coaches, all that stuff in the 80s. So many consists I replicated right out of those books. And that's how like I said, a lot of us modelers like to model. A lot of people get out and do prototypes. They go see the real ones out there, and they watch the main line, and they want to model what they see. I modeled out of books for so many projects that I did over the years. It was a simple way to do it. And I'm sure a lot of you guys out there can relate to that. Also on the table tonight, before I go to Daniel's Locomotives, we've got this train station. I think this is a Salina, Missouri Pacific Depot, if I'm correct. This is a 3D printed building by jp3d.com. It's a very simple building to build in that it's only made of 6 pieces. If you look at it, you've got the 3 roof pieces, 3 main body pieces, and this building is going to be painted and finished exactly as per the prototype back in the 50s for the June What's Neat video. And I'm going to do this one without using an airbrush because I want to show that you don't have to have all the sophisticated equipment to make a really nice model. If you go to the hardware store and study the spray can paints that are out there now, the nozzles are so much better than they were just 15 years ago that you're actually using a can, i.e. an airbrush. Because again, the nozzles really spray the paint on smooth without splotching. And that's how I'm going to approach this project and try to make it work out just right. So look forward to that. Daniel, tell us about the locomotive you got on the table tonight.
All right, so yeah, I'm glad to be back on the panel, and after I talk about that, I need to make a huge announcement. But anyways, we'll go ahead and start with the locomotives. Basically, I had these on order from the hobby shop I work at part-time. Athearn ready to roll. The new SD40-2 runs with the Soundtrack's Economy sound in them. 1574 is a standard SD40-2, and the 1923 is an SD40N, and those are the configuration UP uses for in-yard service by the remote control box, as shown by the 2 flashing beacons up here, which are, of course, lit, so I can have a function button, press them, and then they'll flash accordingly as the real prototype will. Ditch lights, everything, the full economy sound with the new Sugar Cube speakers, and they run real smooth. I was able to take only an hour on JMRI to kind of tone down the motors, tone down the voltage trims, and kind of do my little programming magic, so to speak. 2 of them in order to make them run smooth. They're consistent, and I love them. The details is phenomenal. Athearn's come a long way in the ready to roll, and in fact, I can remember back in 2014-15, I bought when they started coming out with the sound models, because before that, they never had sound in any of the models, so you had to convert it over and all that and take up so much work. I'm sure you guys can relate. But just the amount of detail now that they've got on it, it's almost like you're having a Genesis model, but for a more, budget-friendly perspective, but then you're getting sound included, a full economy sound. Now, this isn't just, it's restricted to basic sounds. This is a full, built economy decoder as well. What I was told by our friend George over at Soundtrack.
George, we love
pretty cool models,
right?
Yep. So
he's awesome. Him and Chrissy, when they were on that show for the RPM meet, that was so much fun to have both of them. I actually sat down here and watched that show last night just because. It's great to watch some of the old What's Neat podcast videos.
Yes,
you guys
it is.
Sometimes chain watch them, and I do that once in a while. I'm guilty.
So, okay, now that I've said that, those of you who don't follow me on Facebook, I have a big announcement that I want to make.
You're getting married? Your girlfriend's pregnant?
Okay, wait a minute. Hold on now. Let's not...
You won the lottery.
Nope, not even close. I would like to announce that I will be working full-time as a locomotive diesel mechanic at a local railroad facility here in town. So,
All right.
got a job offer last
Congratulations.
week and appreciate it. So it's a dream
Congratulations.
come true to me.
We
So-
watched
Very
you
good.
grow up on
Yes,
this
you
show.
did. It's
man.
been a
From the
good
Boy
ride.
Scout uniform.
Yeah.
I met him when he was 13, right? Do I have
11.
to show that
Yes.
picture right now?
Little-
11.
Oh,
Yeah,
no.
that's my
Yeah.
father over there in the shop.
Man.
Thanks, guys.
People have grown up watching you, and they really appreciate watching you succeed, as we all are. So congratulations.
Thank you very much.
Hey, you need to
deserve
show
it.
the footage of when his neighbor's house burned. You need to instill.
Oh, no, we don't need to go there. No.
Yeah.
That's on a separate show.
You should
though.
put that on Facebook.
I have already.
It is. I already have it.
So on the table here, we've got a depressed center flat car with multiple wheel sets on it. And the reason for that was just because we were actually looking for some different new material to talk about tonight. I was working on a project over there with one of the model railroaders that was helping me shoot. And we were using spray cans of Aquanet and making some trees, because Aquanet is the perfect glue for modeling tree scenery projects. I mean, it holds great. It's just wonderful stuff. So what I did was I took these 2 Aquanet hairspray lids and I looked at them. They were rounded. I said, look, I'm going to take these 2 lids and I'm going to come up with an article and sell it to somebody in the model press for X amount of dollars, just like that, to pay for what we're doing tonight to make the trees. And so what I did was I took 2 of the hairspray lids, I glued them together back to back, and then on the end I added an access hatch, creating some sort of a vessel or a boiler type of a mechanism that could be hauled on a flat car. Underneath it, I took styrene, and I'll probably shoot some still photos of this so you can see, and I built some bases for this so that in the event that a contractor was hauling these on the railroad, they would use the same bases to haul this product from the factory to wherever it went in the country all over, using the same bases and the same steel tie downs to hold it onto a flat car sturdy. And that's the way they do a lot of prototype loads. And so that's the way I created this depressed center. It would also work on just a regular flat car and still have good clearance, because the whole mechanism itself loaded is under 15 feet tall. So it's not going to exceed railroad clearances on your layout. But I just thought it would be interesting to talk about something like this. I don't recall what, I might have sold it to Model Railroader or Model Railroad Hobbyist Magazine. I don't recall where the article is. It's been so long ago.
I think it's a Model Railroader.
It would be interesting talking points to talk about something. There's so many people that love to dig in the trash, and they come up with stuff out of the trash that all of a sudden is like gold. This is a modeling project. How many people can relate to that? Another great thing with the hobby that we've got. I don't know where to go after that, but I thought it was a good story.
No, it
This
is.
is very nice. Yes.
Well,
Kind of getting some ideas in my head right now about it.
Like what?
There's too many things. I can't speak what's on my mind right now.
So when I rip out all this third rail on this layout, I'm going to go ahead and use code 70 this time. I'm not going to mix it up, code 83 and code 70. I want to stick with code 70. I'll use microengineering code 70 number 6s and just keep it all looking scale, so the new modules will look dynamite in outdoor ad photography and or outdoor video. Because there's nothing better than code 70.
so are you
and code
trashing
55.
the whole module, or taking up just the track?
I've done
or
this
what?
before. On a foam module like this, generally you can get away with ripping the track right off the foam, and then you come back with either silicone, and I mean the silicone type caulks that paint sticks to, and create with a putty knife and or a painter's knife a
Right.
smooth
Smooth.
surface.
Right.
And at that point, I'm using levels and other types of even strips of wood to make sure everything's perfectly flat and level both directions, so I don't get any crazy track work like Dave Davis likes to model on his layout. all the time.
yeah.
And there are those situations where you want your track to have that sway. and
Prototype
flicker.
effect.
Correct.
In model form.
On this layout, I want it to be just uniform, class 1 main line type things.
Yeah.
The thing about code 70 rail is when you use that, you're usually using joint
Right.
bars, either from the various manufacturers that make those. There's brass castings, there's white metal castings, and there's plastic ones available on the market. Because the joint bars at every 39.5 feet was something, whereas you notch out the top of the rail with a Dremel at each joint bar, it creates an amazing effect. Whereas those who have grown up with jointed rail recognize that sound. It's like an old piece of music that you've heard of, but once you hear it, you absolutely know it.
Right.
Because it has a rhythm to it that's, you know, the way the trains used to sound before welded rail came on the scene. And in fact, that was another video that we had made for What's Neat. Dave Davis helped me do that. In the laundry area over here, I did joint out my rail every 39.5 feet, and I notched it, and it does create an amazing sound, especially with 40-foot and 50-foot freight cars. It's just an rhythmic sound that's recognizable as a
Didn't
train
you end
used to
up
approach.
smoothing those off though after a while because the noise kind of got on your nerves?
I did on the module above the TV over here in the main part of the
that's right.
room,
Yeah.
because it got to the point where trains, as they would run through while I'm watching the news, I couldn't hear.
All right.
Because it was, you know,
Yeah.
it was.
That's what I'm thinking of.
It was prototypically accurate.
Yes, it was. Yep.
All right, guys, you guys know the Transportation Museum here in St. Louis.
Yes,
It's a
we do.
museum that's been around, gosh, since I guess the late 50s is when they started developing that place. My
Right.
father's got photographs of it from the 60s, and I tried to look for those tonight, and I could not find them. But I went out there this week with my friend Holly. This is my new friend that enjoys model trains and rail fanning. Lucky me. This is actually cool, actually. And I took her out there, and I showed her the big boy locomotive, number 4006, which is
Yep.
proudly displayed out there. They gave me a fan that has Ed Dickens' face on it, and I actually took it and kept it. But yeah, I love you, Ed, but your face isn't a fan. It's a fan club for Ed Dickens. That's
There you
go.
boy. That was the whole point of that. Out there, they also have 5000 class Santa Fe, Atchison, Topeka, Santa Fe 5000 class. I believe that's a Northern.
210 Texas.
Correct. It is a Texas. And the 2933 New York Central, and there's also a N&W, and I can say "and" on this. Y. I think they call that articulated locomotive.
A
the
Y6B.
Y6B.
2882.
That's the model that Lifelight came out with a long time ago, and I think
Right.
maybe Broadway Limited might have that also in
They
their
still
line.
got it going, and they might be. I think they're making an N-scale one, but I'm not too sure.
So while I'm talking to you on this, I'm running some pan shots of the museum, some of the areas that I filmed. And of course, I got another shot here of the Burlington Zephyr and some other
Yep.
locomotives that are proudly on display. But Holly got a real kick. A, the weather was nice, and B, she got to see all these beautiful locomotives that they're trying so hard to keep in good condition
Right.
out there. They've built some beautiful sheds at the museum to protect a lot of it. I know that the Frisco, what's the number of the Frisco?
1522.
1522 is displayed underneath the shed, along with a lot of the passenger cars from the early day Missouri Pacific, Illinois Central, CB&Q steel side cars. There's a lot of history at that museum, and that museum is, in fact, going to be on the one of the tours for the NMRA show.
Yep.
You can check that out again at Gateway NMRA.
2022.org.
Right.
The
I think it's
Aerotrain
actually
has
Gateway
always been
22.
one of my favorite things. There, the Aero.
Yeah, there's
Very
one.
nice,
They got it
yes.
restored now.
You know, and yeah, there's only two left. We have one of the two surviving ones.
Yeah, one of the two, and then the other I think is in Green Bay,
Green
Wisconsin.
Bay, yeah, and then the third one was cannibalized for parts.
Yeah, it
so
was.
yeah, those ran at Chicago commuter service for a long time.
Talking about that, our local KETC Channel 9
Yeah,
did a whole segment on the Aerotrain, the history of it. But because
Mm-hmm.
we got one in St. Louis, they did a show. I think in the mid 2000s they did it.
yeah.
Whoever that anchor is that always works for
Oh,
them.
Patrick Murphy.
Patrick.
I
Yeah,
think.
Patrick
Yeah.
Murphy.
Right.
That they did a whole segment on the history of it and showing it back in the museum to
Neat.
when it was moved from the upper level down to
Yeah.
the lower level. They used a gigantic 18-wheeler truck and a trailer with almost 20 axles on it to move it down
Yeah.
when the crane hoisted it, and they had to go no more than 5 miles per hour, just creep down in order to
yeah.
get that engine down there
Dang.
safely.
That's
I mean, you had 15
that's
guys on the
amazing.
ground as ground gophers watching its every move to make sure that it got down to the bottom. But I heard they've now got it restored, and there's only, I think, 3 of the passenger cars with the observation with
Right.
tail fins hooked
Yeah.
onto it now.
Yeah.
That would be something cool if it was in operation, but
Oh,
the motor's
yeah.
taken out of it.
Right.
So.
I was going to do an article on that train. In fact, Joe Steinman and I went down there one day and we got inside of it. This was a project with General Motors, whereas they use bus bodies
Right.
to
Yep.
create the passenger cars for this. Evidently, the ride wasn't necessarily satisfactory, and so that,
About like a bus.
yeah,
It
that-
was.
it
on-
wasn't
on
a
metal wheels.
long-term, let's just say it wasn't a successful long-term
Right.
train.
Right.
But there was one time when they ran the locomotives back to back as in a consist, 2 A units back to back. And that's how I chose to model it with the Concourse set that had come out.
Yep.
I've got that in a train case over here and it runs beautifully. The
Yes.
Concours model's got lights in it too.
Yeah, boy,
And-
those are some of the most realistically lit passenger cars I've ever seen. on that Aerotrain. They
Yes.
were perfect.
And on the prototype, they actually ran them, whereas the windows are slanted in one direction, and the next cars, the windows are slanted in the other direction, and back and forth as the constants you saw go by. And that's how I was absolutely trying to model that consist that I wanted to do.
The reason for that is it was supposed to all run in the same direction when it was designed, but then the doors were at the end of each car, so when they ran it in Chicago, they swapped the cars so the doors
Would be on one side of the train.
Right.
Gotcha.
Next to, yeah.
Oh, I see.
Okay.
Wow.
So
That's awesome. I love the history that we got at the table here. Closing it out now, I've got some trees on the table, and these are some wire trees. And the reason I put these out here is when I shot that Bachmann 2022 catalog cover in the video, I actually talked about trees, but there were some people in readers' comments that had asked me, how did you make these wire trees? And I think I can actually just simply describe this without showing you a full-blown how-to on it. All these trees are made out of is simply that wire that you get from the florist.
Florist wire, green
Right, that
stuff.
green,
Yeah.
really fine steel wire. And you sit there, and I'm going to show pictures of this as I describe it. You make lots, each of the individual branch structures are made as individual trees, each one. And they make great trees unto themselves. And if you measure trees around here, we're usually growing around 110 feet tall
right.
is how tall they get. And those are the trees. These are actually some of the ones that were made for my bluff module, where I actually measured the trees in the backyard with a laser and then built them per prototype photos exactly. But then once you do get every one of these individual armatures made, you then start wrapping them together on the main trunk. And that's what starts to form what becomes a beautiful tree. Now, this is way different than sagebrush because you can actually model individual prototypes for
Right.
what they are exactly, which I took great pride in. A tree like this takes about 2 hours to bend. Then once you
That's
get
all.
it bent, I like
Wow.
to take ribbon or tape and wrap around the main trunk, or sometimes I take liquid nails and I just spread it with my finger up and down the trunk to alleviate and make the wire structure appearance go away. And what you're left with is the tree I've got in my hand. The final coat of paint is some of these Rust-Oleum paints. Generally, they've got these paints that are like a rock type of a
Texture,
granite
yeah.
texture paint.
Yep.
But if you look at them, they look just like tree bark if they're on one of these models. And that's the final coat that I did. In fact, the video that I made for, I think it was a January What's Neat video, maybe last year, I showed how to make tall pine trees using 4 different kinds of foliage in order to make those trees. One was furnace filter, one was ferns, there was just different things I tried. But the main trunk itself got filed down with a rasp, and then it got coated with this brown texture paint that creates that tree bark effect. So it's something that I just thought would be interesting to bring up. You know, try something, experiment. If you come up with a concept that actually works, we'd like to know about it. We'd like to have a What's Neat video from you on how you did yours.
Yes.
Right? So with that, I think we are at 29 minutes on show number 190. Have we gone around the table? Anything else to talk about tonight?
I think we're
I
good.
think we've hit
Think
just
we're
about
good.
everything. I think
we
everything
did.
on the table in
Yep.
that.
Best hobby in the world with some of the best people in it. People sitting just around me just like this. It's awesome. Look forward to seeing all you guys at the Anna Marie National. It's coming up. Make sure that you get on that website, gateway2022.org.
It's right down
and
there
Go
at the
ahead and
bottom, ain't it?
register. I guess I could put it there. There it is.
Yeah, there, now.
Poof, there it is.
So now we're going to take the NCE Power Cab and the smaller cab, and you know what, guys? Let's go run
Run
some
some
trains.
Thumbnail. Excuse me.
Okay, thumbnail.
Why was this one so hard?
It wasn't. It was easy.
Seems like it was tonight. All right, guys, what do you want to do for thumbnail?
Stand
Right?
up and do something.
Give him a smile. Show him some teeth. Ready? 1, 2. And keep main camera running. We'll start rolling credits.
All right.
Good job, guys.
That was a good show.
I wanted to ask you how you come up with all the colors for these cars, Mike.
Well, now there's a lot of paint coming out that you can use. That that are exact matches for factory colors.
Love you guys. Good job.
Yeah, thank you.
Good job.
Appreciate
it. Richard, thank you, buddy.
Good job.
I know, right?
was.
Can't wait for you to build your home layout, Richard.
Yeah, we're gonna help you with
Let's
that.
do that.
I always like when we talk
You're
about
awesome.
trees. There was one layout that we had to go and get. That Glenda had to clean the floor, and
Right.
Dad kept the trees from it, so he always reminds Glenda anytime we're out.
No,
to
that's
bring in some
good.
trees.
That's good. Real good.
So
I wonder if Stripe made an appearance on this show.
Probably did.
Just walking on the
Yeah, a
floor.
little bit.
She was waddling them.
Going around, so